Good morning, everybody. So just going to have to drop this link in a couple spots and then go from there. Let me just grab the link and start. Get shareable link. And we will begin. Give me 1 second here and then we'll begin. And let's begin. Good morning, everybody. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what's going on here. I mean, let me just start here with the indexes because I really think you just kind of have to pay attention to what you're seeing already. You're trying to rally, right? You're trying to rally off that line. And if you look at where that line is, you're right there, 307.37. You're trying to butt up against it. There's the 50. You're really wedged in here. So you're just going to have to watch this very closely today. Do you hold this line? Do you come back down? Do you test the 50 again? I mean, already you're just seeing everything fade. So I would not be a huge, I got to trade here, I got to buy right away kind of person. I would kind of hold off a little bit. It's very possible that you gap up a little bit, come back down, and then run later in the day. You have a lot of economic data today. 9 o'clock, we have housing data. 10 o'clock, consumer confidence and jobs numbers. Like there's a lot going on today. So just FYI, keep that in mind. Now, in regards to, let me just get this going here. But, in regards to that, I would just watch those levels very, very closely. And let's just keep going. So start going through these. Good morning, Shock. Hey, Films. Hey, Bob. What's going on, John? Good morning. VIX down $2 in the high last night, plus TXX. Yeah, that's really a very interesting point. Like, I'm watching that really closely, and you can see that pullback, right? I don't know if you're going to pull back, set up to go higher. Like, I'm not sure what the heck happens here. I don't know if we're seeing this stepping us up again. I would prefer just a flush of the whole market, and we're just not getting it. And I think something like that would be very welcome right now, quite frankly. That's kind of where my head would be. All we're really seeing is like, we're just seeing these meme stocks get the most attentions, get the most attention. And that's somewhat troubling to me when you start to see things like that. So, take that for what it's worth. I would just watch this closely. And if you look over here, like here, let's just look at this so that you can see what I'm talking about. And then I'll get to your questions. And there's a ton to cover here as well. But I really think that at the end of it, I really think at the end of it, you got to watch here. You just got to watch really closely. Let me just see something to say. This AMC, I'm getting questions about this AMC, and let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Yeah, I mean, you're bidding up like 2%. I don't know that you'd want to chase that. I mean, you can try to chase that if you want. Like, and kind of go from there. I mean, it's not something I'd be jumping into, but it needs to really trigger for those that are asking about it. I mean, that's the problem with it. Like, it does look like it's going to trigger the open, but the whole market looks like it's going to trigger the open. And then I'm not so sure where that leads, where that leads us to. So I definitely think that that's something that we kind of have to look at. So take that for what it is worth. Now, in regards to some of these other questions, let me just go through this. There's so much to go over. Index is 2/3 green, lacking clarity. Yeah, I saw that yesterday. I mean, this is what's working. And when this is what's working in this kind of market, the fact that this name is down is probably when you should be looking at seeing if you can get to like 940 and then maybe bang a U-turn and see what happens there. So I would watch this. I don't think that these moves are over. I think that you're setting up for something like this again to move higher. You've been seeing these games go on since earnings came out. Now you're at $3. Now you're at 10. Like, I don't think this is going to stop. You have some really deep pockets there that are playing this one. So, I don't think they're going to go away. So I would keep that in mind. That could continue for some time. That trade could be around for a while. Just keep looking for levels and going from there. But I'm in the 11 and 12 calls, CFVI at the moment. I know it's a pure hype play with outlook. Let's take a look. CFVI. So CFVI. Yeah, I mean, stuff like this, it's not something that I would play. You're betting, like, these were my levels that I had drawn, 12.28. You just got to one really close. I had these in from a while ago. I guess there's some kind of merger or something. That's really what drives these, right? Please like this video. It helps greatly with the algorithm, and the more ideas I get in here, the better that we can do. But if you take a look at something like this, like right here, I think that that's very interesting. So, and I think that could push us a little higher. But if you can get to that 1438 level, it's interesting. I'm trying to figure out, maybe it's the pre and the post that's throwing me off. Yeah, the top of that and the top of this. Yeah. So, yep, there are definitely areas to watch. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Like that this is going to move on a fundamental basis, right? They're going to merge with somebody and somebody's going to want to own it. That's why it's going to move. So for me to comment on that is really kind of difficult. And I don't know which catalyst you're looking for, and I don't have you're not giving me an expiration date. Give me an expiration date. Maybe I can do more. We went over the VIX. I would definitely watch that. I mean, the two things I'm watching like a hawk just all day long are the VIX and then the 10-year. Like, the 10-year to me looks bipolar. So, they come out, we have news. Oh, we better be buying bonds. We better be selling bonds. Like, the uncertainty in what's going on with the market is just very troubling. And, I'm watching this 308 level. Now, if you go out there and throw in like a 5, I made the 5 yellow, you're kind of riding the 5-day, but you really need to watch what's going on there. Now, for me, what I have to focus on is, am I going to break out? Am I going to get to that 322 or not? I don't really have an answer to that. I don't know if we are or we're not going to. That's definitely something that you're going to have to consider. But if you're asking me, like, what do I look at or what do I think is pertinent right now? I definitely think that those kinds of names are, without a doubt, very, very pertinent and definitely things that I would be looking at, to say the least. Hold on one second here. I'm hoping this doesn't. Let me just close that down. So, what's going on, Lou? Welcome. Good to see you. I think it just, I don't know what happens there. We have to see how that plays out. What's going on, Stuart? What's up, Bob? I think I don't know, Kazar. That's above my pay grade. Like, the only thing that I've been saying is that I think you're in a position building market. I don't know that you're going to take out the lows again. I don't know that. I'm not saying that you aren't. I don't know. But if I was betting, which, essentially is what we're doing, I don't see it playing out that way, at all. But could it happen? Yeah. If you get really bad economic news and inflation gets worse, yeah. Could you get down to this 396 level? Yeah, you can. I mean, that's anchored VWAP from the low. So that can definitely happen. It's definitely something you're going to have to look at. So keep that in mind. For me anyway, it's definitely something that I have to look at, or that I think's like really important. But, I would just be cautious. I can't stress it enough. Like this setup this morning is just so perfect, but they're going to lure people in, I think, and bring us right down. And then they're going to get shorts in. And then I think they might bring us up. I mean, so I'm trying to get through today, let alone, what happens when we break 400, right? Right now, if you reverse here today and you encapsulate this entire bar, you have a problem. If you encapsulate that entire bar, you have a real problem on your hands, because you're going to definitely go to this level. I mean, if you can encapsulate all that, you're definitely going to go to that level. And this morning, we're kind of seeing signs that could happen, right? Like this rally's already, this rally that we're seeing is already failing. Like it's not even holding yet. So, it's definitely something to consider here. So let me post this. Here's the link to the preview the trading room. It's open for 2 more days, and then we are closing it down for an undetermined period of time. Just take a look at the link if you're interested in joining the trading community. So other than that, let's just keep going. BAOAIOD. God, I wouldn't buy that just because of the symbol. That would drive me nuts. I don't have that symbol. Is that a symbol, or are you telling me about BIDU? You must be telling me about BIDU. 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 Yeah. All right. So I thought that was something else. There's my trend line. I've been riding that trend line. You're over it, right? And you're flipping. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, look, you're seeing a ton of money pour into these Chinese names, like a ton. And they're coming out with good earnings, and they're cutting interest rates. We're not cutting interest rates. I was looking at this like Futu1. I think you have earnings today. I don't think they came out yet. I haven't seen that report if they did. But that's definitely something that you have to look at, and kind of figure that out. But for me, take a look. I wouldn't be playing those when they're running up. Interesting, this ape keeps falling down. That's very interesting that this one keeps falling down. The other one keeps going up. 6. And what's the... Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, they're the same thing, right? One pays a dividend, one doesn't. Like, I don't understand why one's going up and one's going down. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. So let's keep going. Yeah, Stuart, I thought that's what you meant. No, that's me. That's me without coffee, which is a bad thing. Feels very trappy. Yeah, I feel that way too. Like I mean, I'm almost on the assumption that this is what's going to happen today, and that's what we're going to have to kind of focus on. So I'm almost of the assumption that what we're going to see is something like this, right? And then kind of going from there, right? That's kind of where my head is, and I think that's what you're going to see, and then we'll kind of go from there. We'll see how that plays out, but I think this is what you're heading for today, something like that. I'm being a little dramatic with that, but like, I really think what's going to happen is this. Let me show you. I'm being a little over dramatic there, but see how you're bidding up. Like, I actually think you're going to fade, come back down, maybe test the lows, and then maybe grind a little higher, do something like this. Maybe we're going to have to see, because if you completely encapsulate that bar, you're going to have a real issue on your hands. And that's really something that we're going to have to, focus on, to say the least. I mean, that's definitely going to be something that's going to be really pertinent for us to, pay attention to. So, we're going to have to just watch this very diligently, but you can absolutely do something like that. So we'll see how that plays itself out. But that's really where my head is. I'm going to continue to focus on those levels, but that could definitely happen. BPT, I like a lot here. Actually, I really like that. Um, I really like this here, and I think that it's definitely something where we could do, okay with. I like it. I like the action. I had it in the top 10 this week. You broke that little flag. I was looking at so many other names yesterday. I missed it. But you traded up and you had a great day with it. Today oil's a little weak. I mean, it's been the story of the year. Like oil's weak. People think the oil trade's over and then everything just goes higher. Right. So I'm not so sure the oil trade's over. I'm not so sure you need to do anything there except, possibly buy oil, when these names come in. But I really like that name. And I really like that you got above that 50-day moving average. I think that is really very, very pertinent to me. It is anyway. So I would continue to focus on names like this. Like when you see, watch how you respond to that particular level, the 50-day, but that's definitely something where you want to pay attention to, right? You definitely want to pay attention to it. So just kind of keep that in mind. Um, for me, that's really important, but it's going to be up to everybody what they're going to like focus on. And, you know, I just think that when you see names like this pull back in this kind of market and you're forming kind of cups, you probably want to pay attention to it, right? So, I mean, that's where my head would be anyway, that I would want to pay attention to something like that. Um, so, you know, that's pretty much it. Let's just keep going. See what else we got here. Weber. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at something like Weber and kind of go from there. WEBR, and let's just say it was a dividend split. They're essentially the same. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, Sassy. Like, to me, it just seems like a no-brainer. Like, I know, guys are doing that trade. They're going long ape, short the other one. I don't really understand why they're trading that way, but things can trade irrational longer than people can stay insolvent. I mean, that's not my saying, but it's a great saying, and it's very, very true. So I really think that you have to, you kind of have to think like that. So definitely something for us to focus on. But you see these levels right here. Let's see if you can flip and get to that 1164 level, and then kind of go from there. That's really where my head would be, and that's what I would be focused on. I would really want to pay attention to that. Um, I don't see, I don't, you got to flip here. Like here, watch. You got to flip this right here. Okay. Like there's no other way to look at that trade except you got to flip there. Now you're over that this morning. Does that work? Does it continue to work? I have no idea. You have to realize that you're just playing hot potato here. So at some point, the music will stop on names like this, and they will crash, just like it will on Best Buy. Like I have a runner on this from a trade we did yesterday in the trading room, and we actually did fairly well with it. But you know, I don't know if I'm going to get through 16 today. I might. I might get through 16. I might continue to push. Um, we just don't have an answer to that yet, and that's really where you kind of have to look at these and understand what they are, right? They're like little lotto tickets that you're batting around. And right now, that's where the volume is going more than anywhere. I mean, that's really what we're seeing. So I think that if you focus on it from that perspective, it makes sense, right? Like I'm just in this little trade. Let's just look at it as a little trade, and we'll go from there. So I think that's where my head is with it, and what you need to view. For me, it's a pretty critical day in the market, and it's very interesting to me because people, I can always tell by like social media. There we are. Okay. Chrome, and give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I don't know what the heck happened. Okay, good. So we're back. I apologize for that. I'm not really sure what happened. Looks like it kicked a bunch of people out too. Anyway, let's just keep rocking and rolling. So you're going to have to watch names like this. I'm definitely not telling you not to trade them. I definitely would be trading those. I just think that you really need to look at them for what they are. And I think that's really important, right? So what am I saying? I'm saying that these are like just little tickets, right? And if they work, they work. If they don't work, they don't work. Like you can't get too caught up on that. And that's kind of where my head would be with it, right? So I think they should work. And I think that would be, something for you to definitely take a look at. But those kinds of names are definitely going to work in this kind of environment. They just are. And people play these kinds of names in this kind of environment for a very particular reason. They're thin. It doesn't require a lot of money to move them. When the rest of the market's not working, like the Apples of the world are not working, like there's nothing redeeming about Apple right now, right? Like we can all look at that chart and agree to that, right? So what I'm getting at is that at the end of the day, you have to kind of focus on more where the money's going, right? So the money's going into these kinds of names because they're easier to play. And that's really it. So, let's see how that plays itself out, and we'll go from there. But play them for what they're worth and play them for what they are, and then kind of go from there. But don't do anything else. Oh, you're welcome, John. My pleasure. Thank you for your expertise. Really appreciate the videos. Thanks, Lou. Appreciate that. Hey, Servathia. Hope things are well. Tesla, of course. So here's my concern with Tesla and where we're at. You have to watch this 287.47 level. I do like the fact that it's actually trying to make that higher high, right? Like you are trying to do that, right? You are trying to push higher, but you have a declining 50-day and you caught up to it and you're rejecting, right? But that's on hold on 1 second. That's there. I was going to say that's weird because I thought we were above it here. That's really weird. That threw me off. All right. So you have a declining 200 days, what I meant to say, but you see that level and like this little move right here. I'm not so sure that you don't have to retest this level. I'm not so sure that that's not going to happen, right? That almost seems, from my perspective, going through this, right? And let me just show you that level. Okay. Support, resistance, right? Resistance, support. So for me, that's almost setting up to that I'm going to have to test that level again. Is kind of where my head is. Now, I could be wrong on that. I could be really wrong on that, but that's where my head is with it. So see what happens. I mean, the real move is this. You flip that doji and people go long. All right, well, where are you going to get to? Well, you're probably going to get to here. All right, so now I go up 10 points. Well, any option trade you do is going to have a problem right now, right? Because the VIX is at 25. So you're already going to get killed with the implied volatility, and then you're going to pay up on implied volatility, and then you're going to get crushed on the implied volatility because it's going to come down if Tesla goes higher. So right there, you're already going to be behind the 8 ball. So let's say you bought like an option delta of 50, right? What are you going to make? $4, $3 on the option versus if this thing reverses and goes down, you have an issue. So I would actually be on the other side of the trade and say, you know what would be really interesting and a great way to make money is if you popped over, then encapsulated this bar and then went lower. Like that would be the most way that you could make the most amount of money with that trade. Here you're trying to make like a couple bucks. And I'm not saying that you can't, but I've got a declining 200-day. We weren't declining before. We were starting to go higher, and now this is starting to decline and pull down. That's not what you want to say at all, and it really changes the landscape of the trade. So that's how I'm viewing that anyway, and I hope that is helpful. And we'll kind of go from there. So let's just keep going. Hope that's helpful, Savathian. Hope things are well. Turn back Tuesday. I think you're going to, yeah, I think that's where my head's leaning. But now you have consumer confidence at 10 o'clock, right? You have consumer confidence at 10 o'clock. You have, there's a free newsletter in the description, by the way, that highlights all this that we're going over. And then highlights, what we actually do in the trading room, gives everyone a shot to take a look at it on Wednesdays and go from there. But anyway, you see these levels, just watch that. But that's where my head is, that you're going to see a total turnaround here. Like that's where my head's going, that you're going to see something like this. I'm just not so sure. It's just too easy, right? For me, let me just get rid of all those lines. It's just too easy. But, when this line starts sloping down, which it did do, we started to see signs of it possibly going higher. To me, this was just so blatantly obvious that I couldn't believe that we were actually going to reject where it was just so obvious, right? But that's exactly what we did. It's just amazing to me that it was just that simple, but it is what it is. Now you get back to the 50. I'm not sure you break these. So you're in a really precarious spot, because anyone that trades know that these bars don't just miraculously work themselves off. It takes some time. So you're going to have to put that time in. And let's just keep going here. Yeah, let the VIX tell you what you're going to do. Texas. Yeah, I've been looking at that for that TXN. For me, like the big thing about TXN has been this, right? Let me show you this, John, so that we're on the same page. Like this has been let me get rid of these indicators and other data. So this is my long-term monthly chart on this. And the one thing that I keep trying to hammer home is like, and if you get the newsletter or you're in the trading room, you already know this, but I'm hammering energy. So like if you go back to this level, and this is as far back as it'll let me go, if you go back to here, okay, this kind of area, this is when CPI was higher than the 10-year, and about the same differential as where you're at now. And the best performing assets here were physical assets: copper, steel, oil, those kinds of names. Now copper's not really hanging in there; it's kind of bouncing down again. But oil is going to bounce around. But my point that I'm getting at is we flipped this level, and if you get over that doji, 350, you have a problem. So, I am watching this very closely. I am watching that very, very closely, and we'll see how that plays out. But that's what I would be looking at if I'm looking longer term on it. GSAT likely working. Yeah, I think that is working. Hold on one second. Let me just say GSAT. Hold on one second. I remember looking at this yesterday in one of my scans. Yeah, this hit one of my scans. I'm going to just tell you, like, I don't like these kinds of names, but these are the kinds of names that work in this kind of environment right now, right? That you're going to see some kind of push maybe to 290 or something. What you really have to do is just go through your data, right? And say, where is your volume, right? So these lines, they're pretty irrelevant. Really what you're looking for is relative strength, and then you just kind of have to zoom in, and you're getting it, right? You're getting some action. So, maybe that goes, maybe it doesn't, but that's the kind of name that you're going to look for, right? And then kind of figure out if that's going to go or not. That's really where you need to be. I wouldn't go nuts there, Matt, but that could work. Oh, no problem, Stu. It's just, that's on me and not enough coffee. Yep, both of those names, I don't understand that for the life of me. Both of these names should be trading at the same level. And I'm not really sure why they are not. But, a lot of people, like Jim Chanos is a very smart guy. And when he puts a trade on like that, he's probably thought it through, right? Because he has to commit so much money to it. And he's got to commit so much money that he can't get out of the trade. In other words, he's got to commit so much money to it that he's got to be right, because to get out is just going to be so painful to him. So the fact that he is long APE and short AMC, that's how I would be leaning. If I was going to do that trade, like he thinks there's $3 there, 330. He thinks he can make 50% on his money by shorting one and going long the other. Now, the exact opposite is happening, So I'm not really sure why that is the case, but that's exactly what I see. So maybe it takes a little time, but we'll see how that plays out. I don't get that at all. LNTH, and we'll go from there. LNTH. So, and we'll go from get rid of these lines, and we'll see this 85.25, and you can kind of see where you're at, and you can kind of see these levels here. Yeah, and I'm watching this. Like these kinds of names are very interesting right now. Like the way that they're acting. It looked like you were going to break out, and then you kind of came back. So just watch that a little bit. I would definitely watch that. And Levent, you have to give me a symbol. Give me a symbol, Edward, and I'll gladly look at it. Hey, Stephen. So, yeah, that's his second termination letter that went out today. That's probably a legal maneuver of some kind. I don't really understand it. I think it's very clear this deal is not going through. I'm not a lawyer, but and I don't want to play one on TV or, that saying, but here's your line, right? It's okay. You bounced right off that. Isn't that crazy how that works? I don't want to get into like the ramifications of whether or not the deal goes through or not. My thought with it is that it doesn't. My thought is that the moment that he bought the company, they came out and changed their daily average users and monthly average users and changed their bot agreement. They changed a lot of stuff, right? So, he may have, the lawyer that looked at the case that I respect said that Twitter's done. Now, I think what's going to happen here is that he's going to get the company much cheaper, is what I think they're going to do. That's what I think the move is. Now, I could be completely off on that, right? I could be completely off on that. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to look at and then see how that goes. So let's just see what happens. We'll go from there. I think Twitter done again with Tesla distribution ready to mark down for a while. Yeah, I think it is ready to kind of come in. I do. I think that you almost have to test this 50 at this point. I don't know what the percentage of names that have a sloping 200 that test the 50, but when you start sloping down, that's when you start losing me. That slope down is really a problem, right? Like, because that takes a long time to come back from. It's like this, these slope downs, you want to start seeing them work themselves off. And you're not doing that on the indexes, and you're certainly not doing that here. Even if you look at the SPY, it's the same thing. You're declining more. I thought we might get that push there. Obviously, I was wrong. But if you take a look at how this is playing out with the Qs, and then you relate that to something like the Tesla trade, look at what you're dealing with. Like, I don't see how you're not coming back down to here. Now, again, anything could happen, but I just don't see it. So keep that in mind. T-Mobile seems to have been doing very good the last. Yep. So they seem to have it going on. They seem to be getting a lot of people. They seem to be pulling people from AT&T. I had T-Mobile years ago. It was awful where I was located at the time. Maybe it's gotten a lot better. I don't know. But you're seeing people definitely use it and definitely switch to it. So maybe it's the cost. But you've been hanging in there. I mean, if you look at that versus like AT&T, which is just, people keep dollar cost averaging into that for the dividend. Like that's just got disaster written all over it. Verizon, like these names are just getting destroyed. And their mobile is getting eaten up by companies like T-Mobile. People are just switching. It's just cheaper. I use AT&T for everything. I like AT&T just because I've never had an issue, but I know that it'd probably be $30 a month cheaper if I switch to somebody like this. So maybe that's what's happening. It's acting great. I would watch that 150-20 level, Stu, and see how it acts if we can get through there. That's where I would be. Read Rafi Mecca on Twitter if you want to follow that short version. Yes, Elon is stuck. Yeah, I don't know if he's stuck or he's not stuck. I mean, I have no idea, right? Like, and that's my whole point. Like, I'm not an attorney for me to argue whether or not he's stuck or he's not stuck is just silly because I have no idea. I didn't read the case. I don't have discovery. There's so many factors that go into that. You don't know who the judge is, and kind of figure out from there. So let's just see how that plays up. And then we'll just see. We'll just kind of go from there. Let's just see what happens here and kind of go from there. Price and free Netflix has me sealed for the last few years. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. See, AT&T gave me, what did AT&T give me? I think I get HBO Max or something like that with it. But free Netflix is probably better than HBO Max. Although I watched that new Dragon show. That was actually pretty good. Oh, you're welcome. So, reiterate, I'll take more questions if you have them. And then we'll kind of go there, and go from, let me just see something here. It looks like I have a question somewhere. Okay. So, let's just see how this all plays out here with that. I don't know. I'd watch that. I think people are a little giddy over this with like the Tesla news and like, oh, he's going to just be able to focus on this company now. I'm really leaning towards shorting this, to be honest with you, off the open. And people are going to like use like things like this as like the stuff. Like this is really where your stop is. Like if you're going to put on like a far dated short, like you'd go out to 303, and then if you came back down, then you put the short on, right? So, I mean, if you're going to go far out, that's what you would do with it. I'm not so sure that I would do that. I might do something like that with the stock and just leave it on in case it does come in a lot and the market does get hit here. But I have a hard time buying that here. I really do. Doesn't mean I'm right. It's just it could come back down. I just think you have to watch that. But I think that there's some of these names you really just have to pay close attention to. Like I'm just going to go through them. Like, this is not ideal. You're breaking the anchored VWAP. You're breaking the 50. You made a lower low. Like the idea that this is just going to reverse is somewhat, silly to me. And, I'm leaning towards the fact that like something like this, when you're bidding up, that might be the time that you want to look at putting on a short position in that name, right? Like that might be the time to do that. Not into the panic, but when you already have like, that's confirmation that you're going lower. And this could grind down to, these levels, 140, 145. So that is possible, depending upon how ugly this gets. But, we're already fading. You're already completely fading, right? So you're going to have to watch that level like that. And I went through this level ad nauseum this morning, and I'll just do it again. This is the level that, you really got to watch. And I'm just not clearing that. So, but for short-term trades, I think you're almost crazy to not be, selling into this. Like if you were selling the socks, hold on one second. Look at this. Like if you were selling the socks this morning, or buying the socks this morning, you're already up. Like, you're already up if you were buying into this, right? So, do we see these names go higher? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I know that these dojis make life very easy for us because if you flip them, yeah, you want to get out of the way. So like, you can short Apple here for $1 if you think it's going to break. Now, above the 200 probably is not the best one to short, but that's where my head is. Yeah, John, it was good. I don't know that you hold that 158 level, Shock. I don't know that you do. So, I mean, AMD has a competing gaming chip news out today. That does not look like something that's going to hold to me. That looks like something to, just to be completely blunt, looks like something to short, like off the open, to be so completely honest. And then if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm leaning that way. Like if you wanted out and you didn't get out on Friday, you're going to sell into this. Now, maybe you sell down, you bounce up around. You got consumer confidence at 10 o'clock. You have a Fed speaker at 11. You have the jobs numbers, JOLTS job openings at 10 o'clock. So you have a lot of data coming out today. And, it's not going to be a straight line down. We know that. So you just kind of have to keep that in mind. But that's where my head would be with it, to be looking at longer term. But John, I like that show. I was apprehensive to watch it. The Dragon show. I was very apprehensive to watch it. And then my son watched it and he's like, Dad, you got to watch this. You'll love it. And I do love that kind of stuff. Like I liked Game of Thrones, not the last season, but overall I thought it was good. Yeah, you could do this. I mean, if you really want to play this TSLQ, I don't know. Between the cost and everything else, I'll buy puts or short Tesla. But there are those that can't do that. So yes, you should be using this like 4120 and then seeing if you can push and go higher. Absolutely. You can look at names like that. They definitely can go. And I definitely think that that's something that you should be, you should be focused on, those kinds of names for sure. Let's just keep going here. But I would just, I'm going to reiterate this as we wrap up here and I get ready to enter the trading room. But I would just be real clear here. Like you're at a very critical spot and you need to hold this. And so far you are holding that 50. So you need to just kind of understand where you're at, right? And know that there's going to be a battle there. And that's what we're seeing. So you have data coming out today that could swing us either way, and then kind of go from there. So, take a look at that and then kind of make a decision if you want to do that or not. That's all. So, but all right. Anything else you want to go over? Just let me know before I wrap it up here. I think we got it. Google. So, you're welcome, Shock. I actually like doing that. So please like the video. It does help with the algorithm. The more people I get in here, the better. I find ideas based upon it. Quite frankly, I can't look at all 8,000 names. There are names in here that I just would never have even thought of looking at. But something like this, I was hoping that you were going to get to that 102.25 level and kind of go from there and break. That was really my hope. Now that has not happened. And that's really what we need to see happen, but it just hasn't happened yet. So we're going to have to just watch that play out and go from there. And kind of see how that goes. But I'd love it if it broke down to here. I'd buy leaps if that happened. So that's really where my head is with it. Anything else you want to go over? Oh, let me show you that. I'm sorry. I left that on. Let me redo that so that you can see what I'm looking at, Jacob. You see this level right here? That 102.50? That's what you need to watch, 102.50. I mean, I don't know that you're getting there, but that would be an extremely attractive level for me to buy things. So, let's see what happens. We have to see how the market trades today. I'm not chasing anything. If anything, I think we fade, but I don't know that. And I certainly don't know what happens at 10 o'clock with consumer confidence. And that's going to be a huge number, people. Like 10 o'clock is going to move the market. Whatever happens at 10 is going to be different than what happens at 9:30. You're going to see volatility then. So just understand that. So, and kind of go from there. All right. Hey, Liana, hope things are good. So let's take a look here at URA. And you can kind of see how you're popping up. Yep. I mean, there's a lot of people in the trading room that are actually playing these names. I have no position in them. These are the kinds of names that I usually do. And then, they roll on me for some reason. They are acting extremely well. The fact that you broke out and then, 1, 2, 3, for those that are in those educational classes, there's that 3-bar pattern, boom, breaks out, and then it's gone. It's really impressive stuff. Like it is, I could say anything I want about the space, but that's impressive. And really, there's very little to say there, but all right. All right, everybody, I got to jump. If you are interested in the trading room, it's open for 2 more days, and the link is in the pinned comment. Everybody have a great day and trade to win.